So Ghost in the Shell, it's back. They put out their first episode. It's over on Amazon of all places. I kind of just assumed it would be on Crunchyroll, but it's not. It's on Amazon. So I don't want to spoil it for those of you that haven't watched it, but it's very manga accurate, okay? To almost a flaw. So the Ghost in the Shell director says he prayed to, I can't pronounce the author's name, he prayed to an imaginary Shiro and sought spiritual assimilation with him to faithfully adapt the manga. Now, I did quite enjoy the first episode. I thought the animation was good. I loved the way they did the coloring. Like, just look at that. I'm just going to open this image. I loved the way they did the coloring, okay? It was very much like that. I loved the action was cool, the whole cyberpunk aesthetic. I know it's Ghost in the Shell, so duh. But I felt like even the way they did like the brain dives was really cool. Like one thing is like when one of them's diving, you can see like air bubbles coming out of his nose. So it's kind of like he is actually diving. And it does the iconic scene at the start, of her assassinating that fella and then jumping out of the building. It's all there. Like so many parts from this you're going to look at and go, I haven't read the manga in a long ass time. I should reread it, right? But there was so many parts where she will like move like this and have like a smirk, and I'll go, I remember that paddle. There was so many moments like that. Now, I believe the whole season is going to be 10 episodes. So my big concern was that they were going to speed run it and they were just going to rush through it. But they didn't. All this episode covered was the prologue and like the first chapter. So if you guys remember the first chapter, it's the slave children. That's a wild sentence to say to people that don't know the story. But yeah, it covers all that. It does it really well. Now, where I think some people might not like this. Like I said, it's accurate to a flaw. My introduction to Ghost in the Shell, which I think was a lot of people's introduction to Ghost in the Shell, was the movie. Not the Scarlett Johansson one, but the older movies, right? And that stuff is very dark and very serious. Whereas the manga itself, it is dark and serious, don't get me wrong. But it's also more... Goofy's the wrong word. A little bit more silly in places and a bit funnier, right? And I feel like that might rub people the wrong way. Especially if they're coming into this and they just want more of what they saw in like the 90s, that type of stuff. If that's you, this will probably kind of, grate at you a little bit. But I would encourage you to just keep watching. I really liked the first episode. I did. I'm looking forward to next week's. I wish they dropped the whole thing at once. I'm going to start an argument right here. I am pro binge model. Because that way I don't have to pay extra when they drag out a show over a couple months. But neither here nor there for this. If you really like the old 90s Ghost in the Shell and you watch this and you think it's a bit too silly and goofy, I completely understand. But this is the way it's supposed to be. This is much more accurate, right? And she looks great. Like, look at that. That is fucking beautiful artwork to look at there. The action is really good. The animation's really good. Like I said before, but I love the coloring. Love it. I actually watched the dub because it just came on. Like, I can watch dub or sub, but when it came on, it was dub, so I just watched it. I thought the voice acting was fine. All in all, I really liked it. And yeah, it does have some fan service-y moments, so they're not shying away from any of that stuff. But I think what's going to happen, like I mentioned earlier, is some people are going to be a little bit because it's a bit too silly. A good example that I would compare it to is people that watch the 1997 Berserk anime, which, by the way, if you haven't watched it, what the fuck are you doing, right? People will watch that and they go, holy shit, this is pretty fucking full on, right? And then they go and read the manga and they get like 3 chapters into the manga and go, what the fuck, there's fairies? And then you show them like the actual story and they go, huh? There's like a little girl that's like a fucking magical girl? Well, what the fuck is this? I want Guts swinging the sword and all the blood and shit. You're like, there's like chibi stuff in Berserk, and I feel like it's going to be the same type of thing, where if your introduction to Ghost in the Shell was the 90s, which it was for me, and then you haven't read or know anything about the manga, then you see this, you're going to be a little bit like, why is this a bit sillier? I think it's going to be like that with Berserk as well, where like you watch the anime, you think it's just non-stop, and then you go and look at the manga and go, oh, there's a bit of silliness and goofiness into this, and it's going to rub people the wrong way. But I still do think, if that's you, which is fine, I still think you should push through. Because one thing that I love about this is, still in the big 2026, we are constantly going, can we just get some faithful adaptations of some of this shit? I'm a Halo guy. You all know how I feel about that fucking show. You all know how I feel about the Fallout show. I just want stuff to be more faithful. And this one seems like they're going balls deep on being faithful, which might actually be a flaw, because I can see how it's going to rub people the wrong way, right? But all like stuff like this, you know, like people are going to look at that and go, what the fuck is that? But it's got its share of blood, and there's quite a bit going on. You know, you get some booby jiggle and all that. I thought it was great. I really thought it was fucking great, man. And I encourage more people to watch it, even though I've already seen some people be a bit like, no, it's a bit too silly or it's a bit too cartoony. Which I don't think is fair, because this is what we're supposed to be. It's how it's supposed to be. Which also means we're probably going to get the lesbian orgy. So that should be really fucking cool.